We have a few questions, and I hope that we finish by 8:30 so everybody can head on over to full break. So the first question is, why did you join your organization?
Okay. Hi everyone again. So one of the reasons why I actually chose UConn was how much UConn had to offer. Like, there were a lot of clubs here, and one of the things that I really wanted to do was be really involved on campus. That was something I always did in high school. So coming to UConn, that's something that I wanted to do straight off the bat. And I was fortunate enough my freshman year to be really involved with the Asian American Cultural Center. And while I was at ASAC, I saw, a lot of Greeks were really strong leaders and in leadership positions. Actually, Ron is one of them that was older than me and that I saw. And that made me want to be like them. I don't know, I just always wanted to be a leader in the community, be active, give back, and grow as a person. So I ended up joining Kappa Phi Lambda.
So as I said, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta. When I came, I knew that I wanted to be in a sorority, but I also wanted to have a deeper connection with my culture, with my roots. I'm biracial, and Zeta is a historically African American sorority. So when I was looking at sororities, I was looking at multicultural and historically African American sororities, and seeing Zeta in their first semester being rechartered and hitting the ground running and really doing the things that they said they were going to do, being involved in the community, and not really growing progressively, but just shooting out of the gates and being phenomenal in their first semester. It really impressed me, and it just left an imprint. And it was nice because I spent time with a whole bunch of different organizations, but when I spoke to the women of Zeta, I could see that they were driven, but also they were human. So I ended up creating this wonderful connection with them, and it just felt like home. Like, you're on such a big campus, there's so many people, but really finding something that feels comfortable for you, and that just feels safe and kind was really nice.
So let me ask a question to the crowd. How many of you guys are non-Greek? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Nothing to that. But unlike Destiny, I didn't come here looking to join Greek life. Greek life to me was really just an afterthought. For me, it was really working on my career and trying to move forward. But to reiterate some of the topics touched earlier today, you saw strong leadership here. You saw people here doing stuff for their community and going back to the community. And for me, that's what really drove it home for me. Joining something that's greater than myself. And the difference between me and joining a regular club here on campus is that this is for life, right? The organizations that we each joined, we're here for life. We have somebody here that's been here longer than I have. But that's the commitment that you give, right? At the end of the day, once you're a part of this organization, whichever organization you choose to be, you're always going to see people come back and help. The mentorship aspect of things is awesome, and it's great. Knowing that you have people to go to, whether in school, outside of the country, and give you advice, not only just on life, career, relationships. It's what really drove me to really decide and say, it's Greek life, something for me. And after really meeting the brothers that I've met, deciding and sort of saying, I want to take that next step forward and continue with such a process that allowed me to join and be where I am now. So those are some of the reasons why I joined.
Hi again. I would say, same with me. I did not come here with any intention of joining a Greek organization. All I saw and knew of it was, those crazy parties and the movies and stuff, and I just had no interest in that. I also am biracial, but I'm actually not Latina. But I found a home in Perlac, and that's how I came to know about Lambda Theta Alpha Dance already incorporated. And I met some people who happened to be a part of the organization. I had some friends that were wanting to go to an informational and learn more about the organization, and encouraged me to come along. And I'm pretty open-minded. I love to learn new things, and I said, sure, why not? I'll go with you. And so I went, and that's really when my eyes were open to the multicultural Greek life. And I actually found myself very much wanting to learn more. And I spent the next year or so doing my research, as those sisters encouraged me to do, and seeing what organization would be the best fit for me. And Lansing Alpha was a wonderful home for me, and I definitely found, wonderful friendships with those ladies. I aspired to be, they were older than me. They had been here for some time. I loved the things that they were doing in the community, educational programming, community services. They were just ladies that I aspired to emulate, to be like, and I wanted to be a part of that. So the more that I learned and the more I exposed myself, the more I was not turning back. And here I am. You're good.
Hello again. My name is Catherine, for all of you, if you didn't remember. For me, much like my fellow panelists here, I had no idea that I would be a part of Greek life. I had no idea what Greek life meant. Like she said, it was mostly the stereotypes that I had seen on television, partying. But one of the things that caught me about Mu Sigma Epsilon Sorority Incorporated was that they were the first multicultural sorority in the nation. Me being adopted, my brother being adopted, my family being very diverse, that's one thing that caught my interest. I had no idea the depth that actually went into Greek life, the community service, like was mentioned, and just the connections that I feel like many of us have made throughout the years of being a part of Greek life. I had joined some clubs prior to when I first transferred to UConn, and I didn't feel like I had made any real bonds or connections that could withstand me graduating and withstand that time. So when I met the sisters of Mu Sigma Epsilon Sorority Incorporated, I felt a different kind of connection. I felt like I could relate to them on a personal level. I felt like, hey, these girls can actually, they can take me for me, who I am with my flaws, my goofiness. I don't feel like I have to change to be around them. And that was something that really was important to me, because I didn't want to feel like I had to fit a certain mold in order to become a part of Greek life. So that was something that was really great. And then the women that I had met, they were empowering and very inspiring. They were leaders not only in their community, but also in the university. And they went on to be leaders in their jobs, in their homes. And it was just something that I really wanted to be a part of. And that really meant a lot to me. So that's why I joined.
This is, I may sound repetitive, but I'm going to re-echo a lot of what's been said already. I guess when I got involved, for me it was a different process. I'm a charter, so we went through 2 years of basically being an interest group, and then not only doing things on campus, but also applying to a national journey. But when I'd gotten involved, same thing. It wasn't like, oh, I want to join Greek life. I was part of a group that had like-minded individuals with the same goals that we just happened to eventually become a Greek chapter. And when I had joined, I guess it was, I got involved with clubs, my own cultural organization, Asian American Cultural Center, and it was nice. You make friends and across different groups. But the big thing for me was growing up, I wasn't really too in touch with my culture personally or my heritage. Never mind the other kind of colleague, like Asian. To be honest, I didn't know much about Koreans or Japanese or Vietnamese at all. I just kind of grew up in this little bubble in my home. So when I joined my organization, it was also in the intention of giving kind of the Asian American culture more of a voice on campus.
Interest when I was first interested in Kappa Phi Lambda. So I'm more of an introverted person. I mostly keep to myself. I don't really put myself out there. And rushing for Kappa Phi Lambda, that was something that I had to do. I had to really put myself out there, get to know sisters who were thankfully really nice and got to know me as well. But yeah, I definitely grew as a person in that I could put myself more out there. I could have a greater voice. I could, voice my opinions, and as someone mentioned before, not be afraid of who I am, be accepted for the person that I am and the quirks that I have. So that definitely helped me both professionally and personally. The intake process, and as a member of the UConn community and Greek life, I definitely learned a lot of valuable skills for my professional life. I can tell you that as an undergraduate and going through the process and being a leader in Greek life, I was terrible at emails. I was could not manage my time. I took on way too much. But as I grew over the years, I was able to, gain these professional skills at an early level. And I think that's something that's really useful that most people don't have, in their undergraduate career. Like, having that time to really be professional before you actually have to be professional has been tremendous in my career. When I first started working, it was so easy. Like, it was really easy for me because I had taken on so much as an undergrad that when I was working, it was great. All I had to do was work. And managing emails was great. Being able to voice my opinions and being a part of a team and, working as a leader in undergrad, I was already able to learn how to work with different personality types and learn to understand people from their perspective and learn that, things aren't always gonna go my way, as much as I'd like to. Things aren't always gonna go my way, so you learn to take in different ideas, you learn that the world is so diverse and you can take in all these ideas and create something amazing, and that was something that Greek life definitely did for me.
So I guess a culmination of all of these steps. One of the things that I learned was being able to advocate for myself. So definitely during the interest process, it's not something that's handed to you. You just don't go up to somebody and say, hey, I want to be a part of your organization, and you're automatically in, at least not for Zeta. So it was something that helped build my confidence, be able to help me make myself marketable, but also be very genuine while I'm doing it and not try to, pretend that I'm somebody else, but just be very comfortable with the fact that, I am confident. This is kind of who I am, and this is why I can help your organization, and why I think your organization can help me as well. I think for me professionally, the biggest thing has been learning how to navigate relationships in the work. So knowing that I can have a friendship with somebody, I can have a personal relationship with them, but also when it's professional, it needs to be professional. So at my job, I have a couple people who are under me, but also for one project, the person that I oversees me. So learning how to navigate those two different relationships and not letting them blend into each other, or have a power struggle over it. When you're in an organization, everybody kind of has a different position, and you need to kind of defer to the person who is in charge of certain things and feel comfortable with doing that, and also not let that affect the friendship that you have or the sisterhood you have. So I think that's been the biggest professional help that I've gotten from it, aside from, time management, and being able to, write emails and such like that. But I feel like that's things that you can get from other organizations, that you really can't get from, or that you would get more from Greek life, at least for the professional and the personal part. Me personally, the biggest impact that I've had being a part of Zeta is I'm an only child, so I don't have siblings. So being a part of something that I consider a family is really important. And it's national, it's international, which is really beautiful. Getting a little personal, I had a really big loss last year. And it was the person who had been the closest to me, the person who had been, the closest to a sibling that I had had. And I had so much support from my sorors, and just knowing that there's something permanent that's going to be there. So, even if I had this loss, there's always something else that's going to support me. Other people who are going to love me and always be there. And I know that hopefully I'll get into a graduate program next year. And when I move to a different state, I'm still going to have that family structure somewhere else. I know I can definitely, call a soror or, go online and kind of see who's in the area and definitely connect with people and automatically, have a family in a place that's going to be completely different, completely new, and I'm not going to know anyone. So that's kind of how, I guess the biggest impacts, personal and professional. But of course, there's a whole bunch of little things that definitely help, and other really big things as well.
So quick note, we're sponsored by Girl Scouts of America. So whoever's a good participant or somebody might get these at the end of the night. Samosas.
Samoa.
Yeah, potato. My experience, starting from the beginning, I think it's looking at commitment, values, right? Because as you're doing your research for the different organizations that you might consider joining, it's up to you, to yourself, to look at what you value, what's your commitment, and who's part of the organization, right? Do you connect with them? Is that someone you see yourself having that lifetime bond with? So as an interest, I think that's what really sort of was, I don't say eye-opening for me, but it was a different experience, to at that age, because I went through the intake program as a freshman, right? So at that age, really trying to see, okay, what are my values? What are the goals that I have, and how do they align to these organizations that are currently on campus, and how do I move forward with that? Really brought to me the understanding of what I want to do as I continue to grow, right? My organization has methods or goals, and those are the 7 methods that we try to achieve, where we do programming and how we sort of live our lives every day. During the intake process, as well even after, it's sort of that professionalism, right? You start building at a very, very early stage to say, you know, I'm gonna have to step up, I'm gonna have to assume some roles, because especially some of you guys are now, right? Our chapters are somewhat small, right? So sometimes you're double dipping into positions, sometimes you're even wearing 5 hats instead. And so it's learning how to manage your time, prioritize different items, and sort of seeing how you can move forward with that information. And lastly, it's sort of looking at, again, going back to your values, you know, are the items that we're doing here during my time on campus, do they still go back to where I was initially? How are we planning for the future? Professionally, again, I'll throw a quick pitch for the company that I work for. I work for United Technologies Corporation. I'm part of their Information Technology Leadership Development Program. It's a 9-month program. It's a 27-month program split into 3 9-month rotations of different business units. And it's a manager track, right? Because again, it's a 5-year condensed program for you to push. And one of the reasons that I've been able to apply and got into the program is because of the positions I've had during my undergraduate years, on how I've been able to leverage the different kinds of information given to me and use those skills to really make me to a high level candidate. Again, here on the chapter, I was vice president, treasurer, recruitment chair, and it's up to you as an individual to sort of see how you prioritize and commit to all those positions and move forward. Now, in the position that I'm in at my sort of early career life, I'm managing people, I'm doing project management at a high level, and it's all to the lessons I've gained during my time in Greek life. And even personally, again, I continue to be a part of my organization. I'm part of their alumni chapter. I'm also part of the national board. So again, it's a commitment to life that you put into these organizations and as you move forward. So those are my experiences, and will continue to be my experiences in Greek life, because it's never over.
All right. So my experiences, you know, as an interest during intake and as a sister, have been varied, right? It's been a long time that I've been a sister. And I would say from the very beginning, it allowed me and it gave me the opportunity to step up into those leadership positions. Like you said, you know, wearing multiple hats and making sure that things are done the right way. Definitely, as you know, functioning as the organization, whether it's running, you know, meetings and having minutes and, you know, all of the organizational and professional skills needed. Being able to meet those deadlines, understand that there is no wiggle room. If it's due, it's due. And when I, you know, transitioned into the work world, as she mentioned, it was very seamless. It just made it easy. It is what it is. I've been doing this for years already. So I was very thankful, and at that time is when I became very appreciative of all those deadlines that I was very stressed about over my years as an undergrad. That really gave me an eye-opening experience, or helped me realize that I had an eye-opening experience and a very valuable time here as an undergrad that helped prepare me for the real world. It also, I think, has continued to push me to step up into different leadership roles over the years, whether that was here on campus, as part of MGC back in the day, or creating MGC actually. And then also, in the professional world and being able to serve on boards, etc. So I am definitely thankful for all of those skills. Definitely the personal and professional, being able to separate business and personal is a really big thing, especially within the organization. And then of course, in the work world as well, because you create personal relationships at times with some of your coworkers. You want to be able to, when it's time to be at the meeting, you're at the meeting handling your business. And then, if you happen to have lunch together every once in a while, then you can maintain that relationship as well. So all of those things have been invaluable, and I'm ever appreciative.
Okay. As you can see, for those of you who aren't Greek, it's very different. Everybody has a different personal, professional experience when they come into Greek life. And what I like to tell those who aren't Greek is really, Greek life is really what you make it. If you want to be a campus leader, you can work to become a campus leader through Greek life. If you want to use it for networking, you can do that as well. So it's definitely something that whatever you want to work, it'll work for you. And that's how, it depends on what you want to do with it. At the same time, one of the things that Greek life has taught me is definitely the value of sacrifice. That sounds a little weird, but definitely working to try to make any events that you're putting on a success. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a party or those nickel nights for pulling an A, an all-nighter paper, or the dreaded arete, for those of you who know what that is. But it's really important if it's something that you're passionate about. For me, I'm very passionate about my organization. My sorority means a lot to me, and my sisters mean a lot to me, and I would like to see it flourish, and at times we struggle. But at the same time, it's taught me that with passion, ambition, focus, and commitment, you can accomplish any feat. And I think I can take that from the time that I was an interest to the time that I am now as a graduate, an alumni sister. And it's just something that it really impacts you personally in many different ways. For me, I learned the value of confidence. When I was an interest, I was a little bit shy, more shy than I am now. And now I really learned how to publicly speak in different forums. And professionally, for me, it taught me a lot of patience. I work for the state of Connecticut, so with clients and with coworkers, it's very important to have that kind of patience, to learn how to compromise and really see somebody else's perspective on something. And I think being a part of Greek life, and working with different organizations, working with your different chapter brothers, your chapter sisters, it really shows you, okay, I have to work as a team member, I have to work in a group, and it's very important for me to understand that person's perspective. Because if I just want to understand my perspective, then we're not going to get anything accomplished. So I think all of that culminating together really it makes you want to strive to be a better individual, a better student, and a better professional altogether.
So, being at the end of the panel, I get to re-echo a lot of what's been said, but I think the way I want to approach it is, I have many of the same experiences, the opportunities been given to me, but the thing, and Catherine kind of touched upon this a little bit, is it is what you make of it still, and what Greek life does is it gives you the opportunities, but you still have to take those opportunities. You still want to, move into a position of leadership to gain that experience. So that's something that, I want to reiterate, that but the nice part about Greek life is it's there. The structure is there. You have older brothers and sisters that are there, that will be there to help you kind of transition in and gain those experiences. I guess for me, after I graduated, I moved into corporate sales. And even though the company I worked for, there weren't any members of my organization nationally there were members of my organization that were at different companies in similar roles that I could lean on. I think one of the things with my organization is communication. I chat still daily via Facebook and other technologies. I chat with people that I've never met before, but we carry the same organization letter. So, constantly I'm having phone calls with people from Florida, California, Ohio, about things that we don't talk about Greek life once. We talk about things at work, we talk about life, and we talk about connections and traveling. And I think that's one of those kind of really cool parts of the networking that you kind of get in Greek life, that when I got myself into Greek life, I never really expected, nor was it one of my things, I want to join Greek life because of all, the different things I can get. I actually just came back from the Philippines a couple days ago, and a brother from Florida who I'd never even heard of before took time during his finals week of medical school to come out and show me around and kind of take care of me. And I think that's really cool. It's kind of an understated part of Greek life. And that is there. And it doesn't even have to be your own organization. I've had people from other organizations, quote unquote, rival Asian fraternities, which I think is a very silly term, but they've been very open in taking me in when I'm in Virginia, and I just happen to be a friend of a friend. And it's part of that Greek life culture, and I think that's part of what people don't understand really. They think, you're in an organization with different tags and you must not like each other. That's not true at all. It's kind of one big Greek family when you are Greek. And then I guess that, kind of sums up everything. I kind of want to go a different route than, you know, the whole professional leadership, because like Jessica, I consider myself extremely introverted. My friends will tell you otherwise, but being part of Greek life, it's, you know, I was put in situations where, you know, and I worked in sales. What do you do more than talk to people all day? And, you know, the whole structure of Greek life has really helped me build my confidence, be sure of myself, and kind of give myself an identity and voice. And also, as Christian mentioned earlier, engagement also will get you prizes. So I got some gift cards for that show.
So, throughout your UConn and Greek life term, what skills or lessons have you learned because of your membership? Yeah, I mean, go for it.
Sure. We kind of already mentioned it before, and a lot of people have mentioned it today, but definitely just working with a diverse group of people. Like, everyone has their own opinions, everyone has their own perspective, everyone brings something to the table. So definitely just taking all that in and working together to make something big. Yeah.
So since I think she's still half of ours, I'm gonna go in a little bit of a different direction. I'm gonna say the skill that it gave me was being able to build something grand. So like I said, Zeta started, or it was rechartered in 2009, and I became a member a year later. So I was able to help look into the community and see the women that we wanted to take into our organization. I was able to help to build an organization that, you know, doubled inside, triples inside. And just be able to make something that was impactful, that was lasting, and know how to run an organization, make it self-sufficient, pick people who are gonna make sure that the organization continues when you're gone, and you know, you're training people continuously and making sure that you're passing on knowledge so this organism can continue to grow and thrive and live when you move on to a graduate chapter. So just being able to take something and put everything you have into it, and then make sure that the people that you're investing in can then invest in others and continue that on. I'm sorry.
For me, I think a lesson that sometimes isn't, or a skill, not lesson, that it's not, sometimes not really looked at is mentorship, right? It's one, learning to be a mentee. For me, was reaching out not to only the older hermanos that were on campus, but to the hermanos outside of campus, right? Those in Jersey, Florida, Rochester, New York, and learning how to have that relationship. And as they brought me up, learning to extend my hand down and providing that mentorship to those sort of underneath me. And again, not just only in my own chapter, but to whoever needed some sort of help and support. So again, that's a skill that I've developed, I'm continuing to develop, because it's never ending, and something I'll take with me for a very long time.
I would say one of the skills I learned was multitasking. Definitely learning how to juggle multiple things, whether it's your personal life, your education, your work, everything. You know, there's always a million things that are kind of thrown at you, and being able to persevere and always go above and beyond, and not necessarily settling for anything less. So I would say that was a very valuable life lesson that I've continued to use.
I'm not sure if it's considered a skill, but one of the lessons that I've learned was that character speaks volumes. And I think it's very important when you're either in Greek life, whether you're not in Greek life, to really look past not only, you know, we have interest coming in, people want to join the organizations, you could be an interest, looking past, you know, whoever that person is on the surface, and really just seeing that person's character, because I feel like that determines how they will work, who they will be, and the kind of people that you either want to lead your organization. I do it for myself in work. I kind of have to, working with certain people, it's, you know, abrasive people sometimes, abrasive clients, it's not always easy, but looking past the surface and being able to value someone's character, and even just appreciating them, thank you for what you're doing, no matter how small that is. I think it's very important, and I don't feel like, as you know, as Greek organizations, as family members, as friends, we do that enough, and I think it's really important to value a person's character rather than the reputation, rather than what they portray on the outside, and that's one of the unique, a little weird lessons that I've learned through Greek life.
I guess for me, I'll just pick out the thing that impacts my life the most right now today, and it's actually rather similar to what Destiny mentioned before. Building something, and I think the big thing is if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to accomplish something, even though it doesn't exist, even if people say it's kind of silly or crazy, if you really want to do something, it's possible. For instance, with chartering the organization here, I got ahead of myself. I didn't know how much work there was in what went to bringing this organization here. But fast forward 5 years and trying to open up my own business and a full scale in an industry that I knew nothing about. It's kind of the same thing, but I think part of Greek life, what it did for me was teaching me that, well, if you want to do something, you'll figure out how to do it. And then eventually, you may have some slip-ups along the way, but you'll get there. And I think having that Greek life experience validated that kind of statement for me. And now, obviously, corporate sales and running a restaurant, they're very different for me, but it's, I took kind of the same principles as my experiences with Greek life, and now I'm applying it to what I'm doing with my life. And it's, I'm still figuring it out every day, but at least I have something I'm working towards.
So the last question I have before it gets opened up to the audience is about philanthropy, and something unique to, not necessarily unique, but something that is very important in culturally based organizations is a commitment to philanthropy. So the question is, how has your organization's philanthropy or philanthropies encouraged or motivated you to join your organization? And how have you kept up with that commitment?
So when I actually joined Kappa Phi Lambda, I wasn't too aware of our sorority's philanthropies, and I know that over the years since I've graduated, our national philanthropy and our local philanthropy has changed. But at the time that I was active and joining Kappa Phi Lambda, a lot of what it is our organization did was to fight for women's empowerment and fight for, identity. And one of the reasons that I actually joined Kappa Phi Lambda was, I was one of 2 Asian Americans at my high school. I grew up in a very, small town, no one really around, and I really didn't have that much identity, or so I thought. I wasn't really connected to my culture, or so I thought. So a big part of what it is our organization fights for is kind of empowering yourself and empowering others, to accept who they are and be, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now, but just to be aware of your culture and just be accepting of everyone's culture. So I think that was a big reason why I joined Kappa Phi Lambda. So it's what our national philanthropy fought for back then. I'm actually not too aware of our current national philanthropy, I'm sorry to say, but our local philanthropy is Huskies Fight Hunger. That's something that we fight for right now, and I've been very proud to see our chapter grow in that regards. Like we've been raising money to fight hunger for local organizations as well as nationally, and I've continued to support every single year. I keep tabs on the chapter, and I see what it is that they're doing, and I try to help as much as I can. In my own personal, and I guess in my own life, outside of Kappa Phi Lambda, the things that I've learned in Kappa Phi Lambda have definitely encouraged me to be more involved and volunteer and do philanthropy in my own personal life. So I volunteer a lot at blood drives. That's something that's been really big for me, and it's something that I'm actually going through training now to learn about disaster relief so that I can help within the nation to kind of help when things like Hurricane Katrina and disasters and local fires and stuff like that will help.
So one of the things that I love about Zeta is our philanthropy is Z-Hope, which just stands for Zeta Helping Other People Excel Through Mind, Body, and Spirit. Really what that means is you can do anything, which I think is fantastic, because all of our members, they all have different aspirations, they all have different goals. So it's kind of difficult sometimes to focus on one thing and kind of hope that everybody is going to have the same connection and kind of feeling with it. The reason why it impacted me so much and made me want to join Zeta is they were constantly embodying this idea of being progressive. So it was the first Greek organization to be a non-government affiliate with the United Nations. So for Zeta to say, hey, let's be a part of, the world government, or what we consider the world government, was kind of impactful for me. And at the time I was looking at law, but working with the community through Zeta definitely changed my trajectory. So now I'm working with Yale in psychological research with patients who are addicted to heroin and other painkillers. And just being able to sit with the people in the community who have the biggest stigma. People who may be in low or high SES, because it kind of reaches all people, which is really interesting to me. And being able to, sit with them and implement new treatments and kind of, see how things work and have them have a say in their own treatment was really impactful for me. And that's definitely something that grew with Zeta, because before it I was very, technical minded, and of course I wanted to help the community, but it's very different being out there and being connected with everyone and kind of seeing how it looks when you're on the ground versus, a little bit higher up and kind of seeing it through, someone else's eyes. So just being a part of the community and kind of seeing the ills that I wanted to help was definitely important.
So during the research period, I'll say, it's you come to learn that, at least for me, that our national organizations, philanthropy, started off as AIDS Walk of America. AIDS Walk of America, I'm sorry, AIDS Walk of New York. And we continue to do so now, but to learn that the organization took a shift because of an hermano that we've learned had sickle cell anemia and decided to dedicate our national philanthropy into finding and helping look at research was really inspiring to me to say, okay, well, it's not just about the overall picture. The organization looks at everybody and everybody knows everybody. And to me, that made an impact to say, the items that I want to do, I can bring forth and it'll sort of go up the chain, it'll come back down the chain, and really sort of maybe continue with it. Similar to, I think, all of us, I continue to support sickle cell anemia personally. AIDS Walk, I signed up, I think, 2 weeks ago in New York, May 18th, if you guys haven't signed up yet. And try to work with a chapter to help fundraise and see what we can do as national initiatives to continue to move forward.
Thank you. Well, our national philanthropy is St. Jude, and I'm very excited about that. And I have my St. Jude pin on me today. We have a wonderful softball tournament event that we've been doing for years now, and that's all wonderful and exciting. And I think one of the things that I also appreciate about the organization is that it gives you the freedom and liberty to pursue the things that you are personally passionate about. I know, especially in the years after my undergraduate years, when I was on the board with the alumni chapter, education is one of my passions, and I happen to be a school counselor in Hartford, and so every day is a day of service for me, which I love. I'm a giver, and so for me, I enjoy that. That's my heart. But when I was a part of the actually when I was community service chair, one of the things that we really strive to do was programming surrounding promoting higher ed to low-income first-generation students. So we did different financial aid workshops, career panelists, etc., essay contests, things of that nature. Did like a mini conference for different high schoolers. So those were all wonderful events that I was very proud of, and I enjoyed having the opportunity to develop and create the programming that really touched my heart. And because when you're doing things that come from your heart, you're gonna make the most difference. So, thank you.
So one of the unique things that Mu Sigma Epsilon Sorority Incorporated does that I found out in my research when I was in interest was they change their philanthropy every 2 years. They do that because they feel that it's important to reach out to as many different causes as they deem are worthy. It's a really interesting process. We all get together on a national level and we have sisters submit in bids, and then we're able to vote on it. In the past years that I have been a sister of MSU, I think I've seen us go through 3 different philanthropies. The first, when I first became a sister, was Girls Inc., which really just worked with girls in the community to make them become better women and help them with tutoring, against bullying, prevention, and worked with them to become strong, smart, and bold. That was our tagline, so I thought that was kind of cool. The next one was Save the Boobies, I believe. Yes, breast cancer, because it was interesting. One of our founding mothers actually got breast cancer that year. So that's why we all came together and we decided that that was one of the philanthropies we wanted to work towards. And this year, we're actually working with our philanthropy is the Girl Effect, which works with girls that are impoverished around the world. And we work with them at community level, internationally, in investing funds and trying to make sure that we can get them education, resources that they need in order to prevent any lack of resources that they have, child marriage, anything that would help them become better women in their communities, to better families, and everything with that. And one of the reasons I joined my organization was because I loved how they move towards empowering women. Every philanthropy that has been voted on since I've been a sister of MSU has always worked towards the empowerment of women, has always worked towards unifying women of all different cultures and races. And I really felt that was important, especially living in a world where a lot of women, maybe not so much in the United States, well, still happening here, but in other countries where a lot of them are discriminated against still, and there's a lot going on where they're not equal. So I thought that that was very important for us to work towards as a sisterhood, and I really enjoy it too.
So technically, the question is how our organization's national philanthropy encouraged me to join our organization. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know much about our national philanthropy prior to joining. I guess more so was educated upon it after joining. At the time, and actually I apologize if it has changed, I'm not sure, but at the time it was March of Dimes and Big Brother, Big Sister. So when I was active in I guess our group, nationally, to be quite frank, we weren't very strong with our partnership with the March of Dimes. I think it's recently picked up right after I graduated. But I guess the concept of the philanthropy, and we participated in the walk in Hartford and we volunteered. To be quite honest, in the beginning, it's because we were told to. But during that process, more of our brothers and myself have gotten more involved into kind of philanthropy, and it kind of extended beyond just the national philanthropy, in which a certain issue kind of affected a brother personally. The whole chapter rallied around it because of the whole culture built around what was started from the national philanthropy. So, for instance, we got incredibly involved with Relay for Life because we had brothers in which family members had cancer. So, speaking from my personal organization's standpoint, although we weren't that close to our national philanthropy, it certainly, I think, educated and brought this new concept to new members that perhaps philanthropy was never on the radar to begin with before, but it kind of opened up their mind to saying, hey, Greek life isn't just about the networking and the partying. It's we are here to do good for multiple other people, and given our fortunate circumstances.
So that's all the questions I have. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for these lovely panelists? And there's incentive. Gift cards.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. And delicious food.
Oh, hold on.
Well, I can just project.
Yep.
So what's the one biggest change that you've had to make from being a student to a professional? Like, I understand that there's like a lot of skills that you acquire to like get to your position, but what do you think is like the one biggest thing about your life that you've had to shift, like that you've noticed considerably since graduating school?
That's open for anyone.
So for me, the biggest shift was, I guess in short, becoming an adult. So I went to school a little bit longer than most people, and in my last 2 years here, I ended up living in Hartford, and I was commuting back and forth. But my bills were nowhere near as close as what they are now. I always lived with someone else, so I was able to split that amongst people. And although I haven't lived at home in probably 5 years, I've really been on my own for the past 2. So learning how to navigate work life, social life, and also looking at bills, having Excel spreadsheets with, what am I gonna budget for each thing? I have a fun budget. And it's not as large as I wish it was. So really just knowing that if I misstep, it's going to be on me. The effect is going to be felt by me, and then I'm going to need to change this. And it's something that, you have now, you're still technically adults, but also UConn is kind of like a safe bubble So although you do have repercussions for things, they have repeat forgiveness. So you can fail a class and you can take another one and get a better grade. That doesn't happen out in the work world. So you have a bad presentation at a meeting and that sticks. You don't get a redo. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is just learning, okay, so now when I stay up late and I, go into work and I'm very tired, that's not going to be the same as going into a classroom and being tired and then falling asleep and, later you get notes from someone else. That unfortunately can't happen when you're in the work world. And even just socially being comfortable with not being around people all the time. There are some weekends that I stay home and I enjoy a movie. Actually, that's most weekends, to be very honest. And that's okay, and it kind of feels nice. So knowing that you're going to be a little bit more stable, that it's going to be a little bit more risky, but also it's really, I think it's really rewarding.
Kind of going off of that, I think one of the biggest changes for me was when you're in UConn and it's a small community, and all of our organizations are fairly small, it's really easy to have a bigger impact. It's really easy to dream big, but I feel like the biggest shift for me going into the working world is that, you're starting from the bottom again. At least for me, I work for a really big organization, so, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, I have zero influence. And it's definitely just finding out that there are just a lot of regulations and a lot of rules, and definitely being strong enough to put yourself out there. But the biggest change is that it's a bigger world out there and just fighting to be heard, kind of thing.
So one of my biggest struggles is waking up really early in the morning. And I know you want to be in education, and part of it, I really wanted to get out of high school so I could sleep in, and I never took a class before 9 o'clock at UConn, and when I went to education, I don't know, I don't understand. But it's worth the sacrifice because I love my kids there, and that's fine. So all jokes aside, I would say definitely learning the whole budget thing, retirement, things of that nature are important. And an adjustment that I learned about, I learned a little bit, when I was here, but there's so much more, and I'm still learning. So definitely being smart and savvy and reaching out to people who have that knowledge early on is definitely going to be important. And then mirroring what she said about being out of control, it's such a big world, and I think a lot of the frustrations I deal with are downtown with the Board of Ed, and so there's so many things that are out of my control, and it can be really disheartening at times, but keeping that in perspective and not quitting, and continuing on with that fight day to day, I think is really important, and understanding and realizing and recognizing what is in your control and what's not, and kind of understanding that balance so you can continue.
One of the things for me was kind of learning how to be self-sufficient. At UConn, you have your chapter sisters, chapter brothers, your friends, your SANs, what have you, and maybe you have a meal plan, maybe you have a really nice apartment, maybe you live in charter, whatever. But when I moved out of my parents' house, 3 months after graduation, and the struggle's real. But at the same time, it is worth it. And moving to, I moved to Hartford. I grew up on the north end of Connecticut, so, Bumbletown, Connecticut, lots of cows and farms. But no, it's definitely rewarding being in a place where you don't really know that many people. You don't have your chapter sisters or your chapter brothers that close to call on. You have to really make an effort to network, not only personally, but also professionally. You're coming from the bottom, like she said. I work for the state, so seniority is everything, and I have 0 right now, not even a year. But working towards your goals, working towards your dreams, not knowing if you're gonna be able to make rent this month, it teaches you a lot about, who you are as a person, what you're able to accomplish, and as most of you Greek people would know, you kind of learn that you're able to accomplish things that you never thought you would before. It's the same thing when you transition from UConn into the real world. You learn more about yourself, like, hey, maybe I'll go to this party by myself and try to meet people that I work with, or maybe I'll cut down on the booze this month so I can, pay off some more of my bills or make my debts a little bit less. But I mean, those are things that you don't really may not think about now. Maybe some of you do, but it changes a lot when you're actually out there. But at the same time, it's very rewarding to be self-sufficient and to learn how to do things independently. So that's for me.
So Ron said this earlier, right? Greek life is what you make of it. And for me, I might be a weird person, but I like to be busy, especially when I was on campus, you know, taking on different positions, being a part of different clubs. My hardest transition or shift, I'll say, is going from having a packed schedule to just going to work and then coming home. And that's it. You know, okay, that's not it, right? You go to some happy hours, you meet some people, but it's not like, okay, you know, I have an event to go to at 6, I'm gonna go hang out with these other people. I have a meeting for my job, you know, at this place. I have another thing to do here, and it's sort of a new routine that you're gonna pick up, right? You're going to your 9 to 5, right? I love my 9 to 5, nothing wrong about it, but it's my 9 to 5, go to the gym, have dinner, and then repeat, right? You fill in some other social clubs. Again, you know, you try to be a part of other organizations like the National Society for Hispanic MBAs, SHEP, all these other clubs. But again, they only meet maybe once a month, right? And so it's like, there's not enough for you to do, so you start playing Call of Duty a lot. So, but that, at least for me personally, again, I love to be busy. I love to try to do things and try to promote events and try to be a part of the community as best as I can. And again, I try to do that now at Hartford, but again, it's not as fast-paced as it was here at UConn.
I think I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I think one of the things that you also kind of have to adjust is kind of humbling down a little bit. You know, similar to Christians, when you're at college, first of all, kids are more forgiving, you know, after a weekend of being drunk. If you piss somebody off, more likely than not, they'll let it go, right? But I think you have to realize that once you hit the real world, it's, you know, and very rarely we get second chances, and many times it's, and I hate to say it because you never want to change yourself, you want to be who you are, but sometimes you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes and think, what's it sound like when I'm speaking? You know, one of the biggest things that kind of humbled me down was I was like a hot shot. I thought I was a hot shot coming out of college. You know, went into my job, and I thought I was killing it. I even got my reports that went all the way up to the VP and the CEO. So, and then, you know, came around for promotions, and I didn't get the one I went for, and I thought I had it in the bag. And the feedback was that, well, you need to slow down. You know, you're moving too quick, and the managers thought that, you know, what's not to say that once you get the job that you want, the next thing that's on your mind is how do I get the next promotion instead of doing the best that you can at that job. And I think that was one of the biggest things that kind of hit me like a wall, where it's, you know, it's that the corporate world and whatever it is, even if it's medicine or whatever you get into, it's not about you anymore. You're part of the bigger picture, and you kind of have to really humble yourself and figure out where you can fit in. Now, that doesn't mean sell yourself short. You know, do everything you can to the best that you can. Be who you are, but just be cognizant of the impact that every word comes out of your mouth has, because it does. It does have true impact effect in real lives, that it's not so much the same as the security bubble that's at UConn anymore. You know, this is more like your practice field, and then it's game time once you're out there.
Good question.
So,
I just have one more little thing to say. Just to keep in mind also grad school. So that also is something to, if you, whether you're taking care of it right away or not. I waited 3 years, and so I worked, and then I ended up going back. So then I kind of went back to work/student life, and AKA having no life, pretty much, you know, night classes, working internships all day, multiple like part-times, you know, so again, juggling. So make sure you consider grad school depending on if it's applicable to your career.
I'm gonna take like 1 or 2 more questions. Yes, line sister?
I know a few of you mentioned it already, but can you each go through and share what you do for a living?
So I am a financial analyst for research for Partners Healthcare, which is like a healthcare company in Boston for a lot of the major hospitals in Massachusetts. And I also go to school part-time at Boston University.
I work for the Yale School of Medicine. I'm a lead research assistant on a grant for psychiatry and psychology. So we're studying pretty much a new automated treatment over the phone for patients who are addicted to heroin and opiates, which are painkillers. And I'm looking to go to graduate school, hopefully, in next year for clinical psychology, and I want to work with mental health and physical health in the African American community.
I work for United Technologies Aerospace Systems in the IT department as a IT analyst / project manager.
I work as a school counselor at Harvard Public High School, and I am currently, even though after my master's I said I was never going back, currently looking at programs again to maybe go for my 6-year certificate for administrative certification. So, we'll see. Sorry.
I work for the Connecticut Department of Social Services as a child support investigator. So, have you seen Maury? It's kind of like that, except a little bit different on a more real world professional level, but kind of.
I'm a managing partner at one of the restaurants downtown Stores, the HA Cafe, and I also am kind of a co-owner of a small real estate investment kind of company that I put together with some family members. So I kind of manage some properties. And then I also do kind of part-time consulting a little bit, mostly more for like friends and helping consult for other people that want to get into the entrepreneurial world, trying to help them avoid some pitfalls and expensive mistakes that I've made personally. So.
Sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, last question.
My question is directed to you, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Destiny.
Destiny, basically my question is three parts of one question. The first part is how many years does it take to get a master's in psychology?
Okay, so master's in psychology is 2 years. If you decide to do a PhD, you would get the master's on the way.
Okay, and that's almost the same 2 years?
Yes, well, it would be 2 years for a master's program by itself, but some people just choose to go straight into a PhD program, and you would get the master's along with, you know, whatever schooling you had.
Okay. And then have you been going to school like consecutively one year after the other? Did you end up taking a break after 4 years?
So I'm in my break now. So I got 2 bachelors from UConn. I am taking about 2.5 years to get experience because no one takes people out of the gate anymore, especially for psychology, especially for clinical. So a lot of people get experience in between, and then I'm going to be applying this year for next year. And people usually finish in 5 to 6 years, sometimes 7, but it depends on, you know, how quickly you want to get through.
Okay, and then the last part of my question is, if you were able to, if you get a PhD or psychology, can that also go into like therapy?
Definitely. So the one that I want to do specifically, it gives you therapy as well as kind of medical skills. So you can learn about the body as well as mental health, and then be able to give therapy after, if you want me.
Awesome. So unless there's no more burning questions,
Alright, I was wondering, did your Greek life experience impact what career you chose?
So for me, definitely. So I was an engineer in undergrad. So I work in like financial and managerial stuff now. But yeah, I was an engineer in undergrad. And by my senior year, by the time I actually was doing engineering work, I realized how much I hated it. And it was really my involvement in Greek life and the leadership positions that I took on that really helped me figure out that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to be on that managerial level. And that's what kind of brought me to healthcare finance. Because I was a biomedical engineer, so I still knew that I wanted to be in healthcare.
So yes and no. I always wanted to be in a helping profession, and mental health kind of just fell into my lap. But the most interesting thing for me was seeing mental health affect people outside of Greek life and in Greek life. So people that I knew that were in organizations that were still affected by it, you know, people who had happy homes and everything. So seeing it kind of across all people, but wanting to be in a more leadership role when it comes to it, instead of just, you know, sort of doing background things, making sure that I wanted to be an administrator, and, you know, potentially work with the university. That's the kind of thing that it built up.
In my case, it just helped enhance my career even further. Again, for me, I'm on the managerial track. So again, being vice president, being part of IGC council, helping lead as a president at one time, just it helped enhance my skills to be where I am and stay wrong.
For me, it didn't. I knew what my major was. I knew what I was wanting to do. I would just say, give me that one, enhancing the skills, and then also 2, giving me an opportunity to give in that field. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna say in choosing my profession, no, but in working with the community, the populations that I do, absolutely. It's helped me become better at what I do, but choosing it, no. But you know, that's one of the cool things that I've learned, even working for the state, is there are other Greeks there, not in my organization, obviously, but it's kind of cool because we kind of, I'll be like, oh hey, SGRO, what up? And but it's kind of, it's even outside in a professional environment, it's kind of cool to see there's still some kind of community out there. But no.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it probably didn't affect my choice. I mean, I was 3 years old and trying to sell my toys back to my parents already, so I kind of knew I wanted to get into business. But it certainly helped along the way. I was CFO for a couple years. I did event planning and I did management with all the orgs I was part of. And that just, it's those experiences that I didn't realize I was getting, but in the end, once I hit the real world, it certainly has helped a lot.
Awesome. That's all the time we have today. So I just want to thank all our panelists. Y'all are awesome. Seem pretty accomplished. I don't know if I could live up to all of you, but I hope so. So yeah, just give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you and enjoy the probate.